Hello and welcome to my channel. As we are getting Gavio rerun as the next event, we will be receiving the Heart of Steel banner featuring Eunectes as the rate up 6 star. She has a 50% drop rate when getting a 6 star. Alongside Eunectes, Flint and Meteorite are getting a rate up as well. They have a 50% chance to drop when getting a 5 star, but the rate is shared equally among the two, so if you want to get one of the 5 stars, the rate is 25%. Axidrop is also receiving a rate up as a 4 star and the drop rate is also 50%. First let's look at Eunectes. Our beloved thick anaconda girl is a defender from the defender duelist class. The trait of this class is that Eunectes can only regain SP when blocking enemies, a very weird trait. Looking at her stats, she has an insane amount of HP, a high attack, 0 resistance and an average attack interval of 1.6 seconds. However, her block count is only 1, which is extremely weird given that she comes from the defender class which usually boasts the highest block count of 3, and an insane DP cost of 33. This makes Eunectes an extremely bad defender, but she shines in other aspects as a trade-off. Next, let's look at her talent. Her first talent states that when her HP is above 50%, attacks deal 115% damage. When HP is 50% or lower, gains 20% Sanctuary Effect. Sanctuary Effect basically reduces incoming damage, both physical and arts damage, by the percentage amount. This talent is pretty good. It can boost Eunectes' attack by a small amount as well as improve her survivability at lower HP. The only problem with this talent is the HP restrictions, but it shouldn't be that much of a problem. Her second talent states that she increases her SP recovery by 0.2 per second when blocking enemies. This talent is an okay talent that helps with more SP regen, which is helpful. Moving on to her skills, her first skill is a passive skill and it is your ordinary attack and defense buff. But the buff is so low it's almost a joke, don't mastery this skill at all. Her second skill is pretty decent, it gives a decent attack buff, but increases her attack interval by a little, but she will stun all blocked enemies for the entire duration of the skill. This is a decent skill to use against boss enemies to stall them, as Eunectes' block count is 1. This skill is only ever useful against 1v1 scenarios, not a skill worth mastery, but still a decent skill to stall bosses. Her third skill is her signature skill. She will transform into this gigantic machine and receives a huge attack buff, huge defense buff and 2 additional block count, making her a 3-block defender during the skill's duration. Furthermore, she also restores a percentage of HP per second. This skill is a solid skill to hold waves of enemies back as well as go against bosses thanks to the huge attack and defense buff as well as the healing. However, she will be stunned for 5 seconds after the skill ends, so timing the skill right is essential. The skill uptime is great as well. This skill is definitely worth the masteries. Even so, while Eunectes is a great operator that can deal decent damage with her skill 3, she is not the top pick when choosing a defender due to the 1 block count and situational skills. Her DP cost is off the charts high as well, so yeah, Eunectes isn't really the best operator out there. Next let's look at the rate up 5 stars. The first operator is Meteorite. Meteorite is an AoE sniper or artilleryman. She has an average HP, a decent attack, low defense, 0 resistance, a rather high DP cost, and a long attack interval of 2.8 seconds. Moving on to her talent, it states that there is a 30% chance to increase the attack of the current attack by 60% when using normal attacks and skills. This talent is quite good, though the RNG aspect of it is rather awkward. Next are her skills. Her first skill is an offensive recovery skill that allows Meteorite's attacks deal increased AoE damage. This skill is your go-to option for consistent burst of damage, paired with a relatively cheap SP cost. This skill can be spammable if you have a SP battery like Liskarm or Warfarin. Definitely a good skill to mastery. Her second skill is a burst skill, where she will launch a bomb that deals decent damage and shreds the defense of enemies hit by it for 10 seconds. This skill is more of a burst/support skill where Meteorite will deal the initial big damage and the other operators will wipe out the enemy with lowered defense if they are still alive. A decent skill, but I'd prefer to use her first skill over this one, to be honest. Next, we have Flint. Flint is a guard from the fighter archetype. This class specializes in doing 1v1 combat. Looking at his stats, he has an average HP, a low attack for a guard, a decent defense, 0 resistance, a low DP cost of only 10, a very short attack interval and 1 block count. The low attack is compensated by the fast attack speed, so Flint's basic attack can somewhat deal decent damage. Moving on to his talent, it states that Flint deals 40% more damage to enemies that are not blocked by her. This talent is somewhat weird, but her skills make this talent somewhat okay. Her first skill is an offensive recovery skill that lets Flint push enemies back slightly and inflicts a brief slow. The attack increase is pretty good and the slow can be useful, but the duration is very short, making it rather useless. This skill is great for Flint as she has a fast attack speed, allowing faster skill activation thanks to the offensive recovery nature of this skill. This is your go-to option for consistent outputs of burst damage. Her second skill gives a small attack and attack speed buff. When this skill is active, her attacks become super fast, and what's more, each attack now inflicts slow. However, she is unable to block enemies when the skill is active. This skill might seem awesome at first, but in actual fact, Flint's attacks won't deal as much damage as her first skill, and the slow isn't as effective as she will only be slowing one target at a time since she is a single target guard. This makes her second skill rather wonky and difficult to play with. Next, we have Acidrop. I won't be going through this operator as he is a 4-star unit that nearly nobody plays, even for low rarity team clears, so yeah, you might not really want to build this operator, unless of course it's for the E2 art. So, should you pull on this banner? The answer is no, but yes. The 6-star of the banner isn't a meta operator, and out of all the stage showcases I've seen, none of them used Eunectes in it. However, the 5 stars, or 5-star of this banner is pretty good, and the 5-star that steals the spotlight is none other than Meteorite. She is an awesome operator to own thanks to her consistent DPS output with her skill 1 and debuff with her skill 2. While Flint is good, he isn't really the best in most scenarios. So, I would say do single pulls on the banner until you claim the offer. If you manage to get a 6-star in the first few pulls, lucky you. If you manage to get Meteorite, nice luck. Personally, I am skipping this banner for future operators. I made a separate video on the upcoming operators, so do check that video out. And that is all. I will be making similar videos in the future, so please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.